coming. My name is Megan. I am your designated library staff for the evening. Started our summer reading programming, and so each person under the age of 20 gets a free book to keep for the summer. So please come back on another day and come get your book. And adults, we have books for you this year too, in conjunction with some visiting authors. So bathrooms, water fountain, summer reading, that is all that I have for you. And also that this event is being live streamed through the Wordcrafters Facebook page, so text your friends and let them know. Without further ado, welcome Wordcrafters. Looking forward to another amazing event.
Woo! Thank you, Megan. I feel like we all just got on a really good plane. We're designated library staff. Megan, you are wonderful. We love working with you. Eugene Library in general, we are so grateful that you are hosting us here today once again for the annual Fiction Fantastic Awards ceremony. Let's hear it for y'all. Where are my writers at? Where are my writers? Where are my writers in the room? We're so happy to see you. This is a big moment for us. Your stories have been read by all kinds of people who have appreciated them. They have been put together into this incredible publication, and now we get to see your faces and honor you and applaud you. And it's a really special night. Thank you for everything that it took for all the families who are here. I know it's a weekday. It's warm out. It takes a lot to be here. So thank you. Settle in. We all know what to do if we're parched. This is great. So my name is Joy LaFleur. I work with Wordcrafters. And if you are not familiar with who we are a local literary nonprofit, and we believe in the power of story. Stories tell us who we are and who we can be. At Wordcrafters, we empower writers and readers by increasing access to community, craft, and inspiration. We provide a home for sharing knowledge and stories with each other and future generations to cultivate a more empathetic, creative, and courageous world. I want to take a moment to say thank you to my coworkers. This is our executive director, Darylyn Evans, who makes the work this day. I want to say thank you to Joe Bartlett over here, who is too many roles for me to say all in one mouthful. I want to say thanks to Audrey Quinn, who's here somewhere.
She's downstairs.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're downstairs. Thank you to our helpers today. All right. Oliver, thank you. I just met Oliver. It's fantastic. Our new intern, absolutely. Okay, neat. So, to talk a little bit about this contest, the history of it, this contest has been going on since 2014. It's an annual contest open to all Lane County students. This year, we received 100 entries from 19 schools across Lane County. That is a total of 157,853 words. Woo! 17 judges blind read those stories, which is a real act of volunteerism. So anyone who is a judge, can you please stand and be recognized for a moment, or give me your hand? Who are our judges in the audience tonight? Yes, who are the readers? These are lovely stories, but as you can imagine, it's a big process, and really, we have really thoughtful, wonderful judges who take their time to make sure that these stories are really well read and well judged. So thank you so much to our judges. So then after they went through that process, the top stories went to our celebrity judge, who this year is Sander Moffitt, and you're going to get to hear a lot more from her. Whoop, whoop. So in addition to this contest, which is this big annual program we offer the community, Wordcrafters offers a plethora of creative writing shenanigans to help writers of all ages and stages to grow and express the stories they have inside. So one of the other things we do is the piece that I am in charge of, which is our Writers in the Schools program. So I get to go into the classrooms in partnership with teachers. We also have a monthly opportunity for young writers at our studio, which is called Write Club. And then we have summer camps, and you can learn more about all of that stuff. I think it's in your programs and over here. So we love welcoming young people who we know already have a passion for writing to continue coming to play with us through some of the other opportunities. And if you might happen to be a grown-up in the room who also loves writing, we got all kinds of stuff for you. We got writers' lunches, communal writing time, open mics, which we started this year that I host. We have critique groups, we have classes, we have workshops. We really are excited to help people find a way to connect with other writers and to advance in their own craft without feeling like you have to go back to school or you have to make some huge commitment. And being a writer can be it can be a little bit isolating and lonely. And so having spaces where you can find other people who share that passion is really important. Introverts unite. So you can learn more about all of that through us. And then lastly, I really want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, to the foundations and individuals who support us. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We rely absolutely on those donations and sponsorships. So I want to acknowledge these foundations: Elizabeth George Foundation, the Harvest Foundation, the James F. and Marion L. Miller Foundation, Luminary Press, who does these beautiful books, the Mills Davis Foundation, and the Oregon Arts Commission, in addition to our individual donors. Would you please join me in just being like, yes, thank you for it's kind of like what we just named, but it all represents the reality of what is required. So I'm just so grateful that those kinds of donors exist. Okay, thank you to our board. I'll say thank you to our board too. I don't know if anyone from the board is here. Thank you, board. Hey, Facebook, we got you. Appreciate our board members and everyone that makes Wordcrafters go. Okay, so let's get into how this is gonna go down. I wanna make sure that before I start calling folks up here and we celebrate who has won what placement and you get all your goodies, that we're all very clear on what's gonna happen. Because it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Like, is anyone feeling a little bit nervous to get up and read? Yes, thank you, love your honesty. Okay, that is a completely normal way to feel. So let's pretend, those of you who are students who are gonna come up and read, let's pretend that this is happening like behind a curtain. So we're just gonna like go behind the green room now and I'm gonna explain what's gonna happen. Okay, so when your name is called, and we will move in categories starting with youngest to oldest. So when your name is called, what you're gonna do is come up here, and Sander, our celebrity judge, is going to be standing here. She will hand you your certificate, and then you're gonna pause right here. So writer, celebrity judge, certificate, you're gonna pause so your people can take a picture. Okay, so, and Joe, yes, and Joe. So we're gonna get a lovely, unobstructed photo of you right here. Very good, okay. And then you're gonna come on over here and you're going to be able to put down your story on this music stand and you are going to read your excerpt to us. Now, we have a big range of ages and I'm sure therefore heights. So both of these things are very, very adjustable, and if you don't feel comfortable adjusting them for yourself, I would love to help you. So what we want to do is make sure that the microphone is at a good height for you, and if you're not familiar with using microphones, you just want to think about you want your mouth to be just pretty much so that, like, you know, if this was a romantic comedy and you were just like leaning in, it would be the scene where you just accidentally kiss. But don't kiss it because hygiene, okay? So That's what we're looking for. We just want your mouth and the mic to be in like the same plane. And so we'll work together to make sure that happens because it's really important that everyone gets to hear your awesome story. So that's how that's gonna go down. And I will be announcing the category, and Sander will be announcing the winner and also sharing just a little bit about what she loved about your story. Does anyone, okay, now.
And then what happens?
Oh, sorry, gosh, thank you. There we go, okay, and then what happens? This is like a whole, okay, this is great, you get to do a whole thing. Photo, reading, and then after that, to exit, you're gonna walk over here, and Darylyn is gonna hand you your package of goodies. You're gonna get the anthology with your story, you're gonna get some chocolate, you're gonna get a journal, you might get a check. Oh, it's amazing. Okay, and then the last thing you need to do is come over to this table, correct? Yeah. And we're gonna have everyone sign one anthology. Two anthologies. So you gotta sign your name twice. Whew, okay. There will be people at all these stations. It's one long move. Okay, I don't know if that made you less or more nervous. Photo, reading, goodies, sign some books. Okay, great. And of course, we're all buddies here. If you feel uncertain at any moment, we gotcha. We gotcha. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Feeling ready? Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and welcome our celebrity judge, Sander Moffitt, to the stage. All right, Sander. So, Sander, in her younger, not so long ago years, participated in this contest not once, but 4 times. So she knows how you are feeling.
Nervous.
Awesome. Okay. So we are going to start. So we're going to do this fun like mic share thing now. So we are going to start with our K2 Spotlight category. So these are our youngest writers in kindergarten through 2nd grade. So these stories don't go through the same exact judging process, but instead it's a curated collection of stories, and we had one really amazing K2 story this year, and we felt like we had to publish it because it was just incredibly charming. And so our K2 Spotlight writer this year is
Roya Talbreza May. Favorite little passage. So my favorite was, little did they know it was a humongous and magical jackrabbit, luring them in with its loud footsteps.
Roya, were you going to read to us? Oh, there we go. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Let me help with this, okay?
On a cool summer day, a falcon named Lily had her first 3 babies. She was very excited. The 3rd baby's first word was adventure. Unfortunately, their tree kept having to be cut down because there was in danger of falling on a temple. The next day, when her mother went to get food, the falcons fell into a temple because of a strong wind that capsized their branch. When their mom came back, she noticed that her little ones were not there. She looked all around the nest for them, but she could not find them anywhere. Little did she know that her babies were inside the temple. Unfortunately, only one baby survived the fall. Her name was Pippi the Third. Her mother was never able to find her. Fortunately, Pippi knew of an owl named Rosemary, who would definitely take her as a family member. But when Pippi arrived, she could not find Rosemary anywhere, so she had to sleep outside, which she did not really like.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, amazing use of the microphone. Absolutely killed it. What a way to start off. Thank you. K2 All right. So next we're going to move into our elementary school category. So this is grades 3 through 5. This year we had 21 entries in this category, and we've got a lot of first-time winners this year. But also for one of our finalists this year, Leo, was a K2 Spotlight in 21 and a third place last year. And now he's back in the elementary school category. So we're just doing a little extra shout out to our returning riders. We love that. But we also, have a bunch of new winners this year. So let's find out who is the honorable mention in the elementary school category, Sander.
Our honorable mention is Jocelyn Stevenson with Secret Recipe. And a favorite sentence from this one was, Anne loved the creamy, velvety texture of the delicacy.
Yay! All right.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Do you want to read?
I'm going to read.
Awesome.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks,
Go
Joe.
ahead and get all your bits and pieces over there. I'm the fill-in reading person, so you get words with an English accent. Anne, come help me cook, hollered Mom from the kitchen. On my way, Anne yelled back. It was November 22nd, and Thanksgiving was around the corner. That also meant all of her family members were too. Anne had so much family, it was troublesome to count. She had Aunt Tracy, Aunt Stacy, Aunt Macy, Uncle Jerry, Uncle Trey, Uncle Larry, Uncle Steve, Grandpa Victor, Grandpa Matt, Grandma Jane, Grandma Belle, and all of her older and younger cousins. They were cooking food for the traditional Thanksgiving family dinner that happened every single year. Anne thought the only good part of Thanksgiving was the pumpkin pie. Anne loved the creamy, velvety texture of the delicacy. Every year, her mum baked the scrumptious treat with her dad, Grandma Jane, and Aunt Tracy. Her mum said she'd show the recipe to her when she turned 20. Mum's secret recipe always awed her. Every Thanksgiving, she begged her mother for it, but she'd always said no. This Thanksgiving, it would change.
I think we've got the first of many cliffhangers. Like many of you, I have not yet gotten to read these stories, and I always get so excited through this process. Neat. Okay. So, Sander, tell us who has placed third place in the elementary school category.
Third place goes to Stranded by Kane Lowell. And my favorite sentence from this was, I'm greeted by laughter and familiar sights. David sleeping on the couch, Robbie scrolling to find the movie, and Bill popping popcorn while concocting a mixture of junk food.
Awesome.
As I approached it, I noticed that it had some small chunks of rock and dirt. The floor looked worn. I wondered if it belonged to an animal. There were no signs of nearby wildlife, and I couldn't really look for another place to spend the night. I was lucky enough to find one shelter.
Nicely done. Thank you, brave reader. Okay, moving on. Who is our second place winner in the elementary school category.
Our second place goes to Zong Lao by Leo Cool. Our favorite sentence: few dared ask how the Death River got its name, and Creaker wasn't really wanting to find out at the moment.
Semifernums were ugly creatures. Covered in scales like a lizard, they stood on 2 feet and walked like humans. Their faces were covered with warts, and their scales often shedded. Unlike fernums, semifernums did not have wings, but they had fangs that were often covered in blood after a meal. They had 3-toed feet with claws on each toe. Creaker felt himself shake with fear, which made it even harder to balance on the slim ledge he was standing on. All of a sudden, he felt a big shake in the cliff as the semifernums threw their grappling hooks onto the cliff. Creaker started to fall, down to the semifernums, to his death. Creaker fell around 80 feet before his shirt got caught on a grappling hook. That didn't stop him from falling, though. It only slowed his fall down. However, it slowed it just enough for Creaker to be able to grasp part of the grappling hook. He caught himself 20 feet above the ground, but then a semifernum started climbing the grappling hook that Creaker was hanging onto. Creaker jumped down off the grappling hook and landed on the ground with a thud.
Love it. Okay, so that means that Leo in elementary school has now been published 3 times already. Woo, I know. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us again. We just love that. Okay, lastly, who's taken first place in the elementary school category?
And first place is The Strength of the Weak by Sydney Johnson. And my favorite was actually a chapter title, which was Chapter 3, The Mouth Route, or Why You Should Sometimes Let Dogs Eat Random Plants.
As they made camp during the evening, they heard a noise. Shh! I'll put out the fire while you get our stuff, whispered Kaya. They grabbed me and the dog and hid under a rotted-out tree root. They all barely fit as they squeezed in. Come out, boys. There's no use hiding. I only want a kiss. A slippery voice drifted into our ears. Kaya widened his eyes and mouthed the word mouth route. In the legend, mouth routes were terrible demons that stalked travelers through the forest and memorized their prey. They would eat anyone and were vicious and disgusting. Kaya quickly covered his ears. Kaya almost put his hands up to cover the sound, but then his eyes lifted as if in a dreamy haze. Please come out. You wouldn't want to hurt my feelings. The monster's greasy voice felt like a slimy eel. Kyle slowly rose from their hiding spot. No, I wouldn't want that, Kyle said as he stared into the mouth road's gaze. Boy, she said in a cracked falsetto. Come to me, my darling, she smiled. She was a vulture with gray, cracked skin stretched tight, with 2 leathery wings and 1 arm that had 2 sharp claws. Her mouth was stained in red. Come to Mama! Then Kaya burst from his hiding place. Kyle, no! The vulture smiled. You've just assured your death too. She spread her massive wings and roared, Darlings, come! Thousands of bats flocked down and hit Kaya with their claws, dropping dead insects and gooey stuff. From the corner of his eye, Kaya saw Mia chomping on something. I wish she could tell me what she's doing, he thought. What he didn't see was a shooting star right above his head at the exact time he wished. Then Mia barked, except it came out more like, Bark away from my friends!
What a fantastic audiobook. I wish we got that whole version. Very nicely vocalized. Okay, so we are going to move on to the middle school category, everyone's easiest time in life. Because the middle school category is always a fan favorite, and with the judges in this year's these stories did not disappoint. So much good imagination. So if some of the names I'm about to read sound familiar, that's because we've got 2 sibling pairs as finalists this year. I will leave it there for now. We have some other returning winners. I don't want to say too much actually until we get into these placements, but yeah, we've got some exciting returning superstars this year. So let's start with honorable mention. Who is our honorable mention in the middle school category?
Our honorable mention goes to Shipwrecked in the Sky by Hunter Lowell. My favorite passage. Titus has a single physical form, a set of treads, a vertical torso, and 4 spindly arms. Normally, it would automatically do any repairs, probably fixing whatever happened to the ship already, but Titus didn't look in any condition to be doing maintenance.
You're what? Okay. Come on over. All right. Cool. Let's get into 3rd place.
3rd place goes to Let Go by Nina Cool.
Sorry.
There wasn't anything Marilyn hated more than peppy adults who try to coat everything they say with an extra layer of sugar.
You know, would you like me to raise this music stand up a little bit for you so you can read better? Let's get this up here.
Getting to the cooler one.
There we go.
How can this be the new reality? Marilyn sat hunched in the back seat of her mom's silver SUV, gazing blankly out the window. Her heart began to palpitate, causing her chest to cramp, while hot sweat dripped from her palms. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" her mother asked gently, noticing her daughter's pale, panicked face through the rearview mirror. "I'm fine," Marilyn whispered, her silvery voice sinking into the silence, barely even there. Powerful, overwhelming emotions were flooding into her brain faster than a rapid river, drowning all thoughts of happiness and pleasant things. It was grief and fierce worry, mixed with great annoyance that she had to spend her Saturday at a therapist's office. "I know this isn't your ideal weekend activity," Marilyn's mom admitted empathetically, sensing Marilyn's thoughts. "I understand how you feel, but trust me, this will be good for you. This will be good for you." Those words weren't new to Marilyn's ears. In fact, that sentence was pretty much all her mother had said to her in the last month. The almost teenager didn't feel the need to respond as they pulled into a mostly empty parking lot. Every word that escaped her mouth was another useless attempt at knocking some sense into her mom.
I can't wait to go home and read these. Okay, tell us about 2nd place in the middle school category.
2nd place goes to The Green Ember by Kai Suzumura. Glaze is a mining town that sits on a rocky bluff overlooking the miles of dead trees and swampy, foggy fields dubbed Kerndur Marsh.
As summer turned to fall, the nights got progressively colder, tampering down the already dwindling spirits of the small party of Otig soldiers camped among the sparse pines and towering oaks of the flaming forest. The name came from the way that the forest lit up with sunlight every morning, giving an illusion that the trees were in flames. They had been out in the wilds and mostly far from civilization for many weeks. It was the infamous band of Prozac raiders that led them to sleep in the cold. These raiders were orcish beastmen that lived in separate groups, but they were all united in the caves and caverns of Soaring Mountains. Travelers and caravans would occasionally report being attacked and robbed of their goods by these bands late at night. But recently, these groups of orcs had gotten out of hand, boldly attacking villages and farming communities that dwelled near the mountains of Kermere Marsh, killing livestock and destroying crops. The Order of the Ivory Gauntlet soldiers were here to hunt them down in accordance with the Rangers, to assist them in their tasks of protecting the country and its citizens. The cold had arrived with a loud gust of wind just before dawn. It chilled the camp sentries through their thick coats, helping to keep them awake. Unfortunately for the soldiers, something else had arrived with the icy wind, and it gathered now, just inside the shadows of the tree line.
This is Kai's second time being published in our anthology, and our first place winner in the middle school category is returning for a third time, and they are...
A Murder of Crows by Keiko Sophie Weibold. Jason was putting out the lamps in the library and being very careful about it when a tendril of smoke wafted into the room. At first, he thought it was a lamp that had stuttered out, but other than the servants' candles, all the lights had already been extinguished.
Unnerved, Jason did as he was told. As he gathered wood a little ways away from the camp, a beast emerged from some bushes to his left. The massive creature looked like a cat, with a lean, muscular body, huge bare teeth, and a barbed tail. It also had glowing amber eyes, intelligent eyes, the eyes of a killer. Come to me, the eyes seemed to say. You are nothing. You are broken. You have nothing left to live for. I can end your suffering. Jason was frozen in place, unable to move. The beast tensed, knowing that its prey was giving up. Just as it was about to spring, Morgan hurtled out of the trees, yelling and waving a branch over her head. The beast pounced, but Jason had unfrozen and was able to dive out of the way. The creature turned and fled to the forest. Morgan looked down at Jason and said, "That, right there, is why we need a fire."
Another first thing happening between the elementary and middle school categories, we had two sibling pairs, so the Cools and the Lols. All right, writing families, very, very nice. Love that, great thing to share. Okay, here we go. Big kids, high school category. Who is? Oh wait, let me tell you a little bit about this. Sorry, I got so excited. I was about to skip some things. So 65 out of the 100 entries this year came from the high school category. 32 of those were from South Eugene, and Elmira High School contributed 24. We've got a student from each school placing as a finalist. We have 2 honorable mentions this year and someone returning for the 3rd time. So this is very exciting. Who is our honorable mention in the high school category?
Honorable mention number 1 goes to the Ends of the Earth by Brianna R. Bird. I remembered it all, our first battle, and the way they dragged my emaciated form past the gates, the way I had lain for so long in front of the garden that I thought the grass had grown over me and the moss had filled my wounds.
Oh, great. Do you want me to read for you? Okay.
All they had was a very fluffy white cat and a scimitar. I suppose it was probably the best they could do, but when I saw the one she had, I felt very outdated. The girl's weapon had all the bells and whistles of something 1367, not near the beauty of mine, of course. She was wearing a very strange ensemble. A black tailcoat over a blouse tucked into brown trousers, a satchel, and her fiery hair in a braid around her head, with the strangest pieces of machinery stuck into it, as well as in her buttonholes, jewelry, and belt. I really did feel ancient in my blue and gold tunic. I hoped my back wasn't acting up again. It had been so embarrassing getting stuck in that chimney in Mesopotamia. Things weren't retractable until after that. Anyway, she held a blunderbuss-turned bayonet, making me look as though I had arrived at the Trojan War holding a butter knife. I flipped my hair over my other eye to get a better look at her. Her eyes were strange. It was like staring into a black pit, but her irises held flames. Of course, I surely looked strange to her. She didn't notice me until the cat started meowing. I had poked its tail while trying to remove it from my chest. I jumped up as soon as she saw me and carefully removed the cat. She grinned at me and then started to walk away.
And Brianna is returning to us for the third time. Nicely done. All right, our second honorable mention this year.
Gold Dust Books by Lily Stepp. The room felt almost like a forest. Potted plants with long, winding vines that reached toward the door and lower balcony were scattered along the windowsills. Wood furniture and bookcases with accents of different shades of green surrounded the room, while the smell of pine drifted by on the breeze of a dancing couple.
Alrighty, this is also, I'm a poet. This is an amazing found poem. I feel like we should publish all
the
your
different
favorites
lines. Yeah.
together. Ah, what a beautiful tapestry. Okay, let's find out who is our third place winner in the high school category.
Whispers in the Woods by Lauren Ellison.
Lauren can't be with us.
Yes, Lauren
today.
cannot be with us tonight, but did write the sentence. Behind the fence was lush Oregon forest, vibrantly green compared to the sad beige of the school.
Alrighty then. We only have 2 folks left. Thank God you're giving a talk. Okay, let's find out who plays second in the high school category.
Second place goes to Orbit by J.T. Myers. Effortlessly gliding at 18,000 miles per hour, the tube makes no sound. It splits the vacuum like a knife, but there is no air for a scream. Sunlight bathes the black wings of the gliding lump of steel and feeds it, just enough to keep life inside.
He flipped the switch, and a sharp click abruptly silenced the static in the room. The stillness in the air flooded his ears and brain. His thoughts didn't have the space to process in his head because his skull was compressing, squeezing the mind it was supposed to protect. The panic was overwhelming. The spaceman dropped to the floor and put his hands in his hair and grasped, just to give him anything to feel besides the metal around him. His hands released and slid down to his ears in an attempt to block out the deafening silence. Curled into a ball on the floor, he blacked out. Hours later, a yellow light flashed on a screen on the far wall. It beeped and the spaceman was startled awake. Calmer, he got up and clicked the button beneath the screen. A map showed a calculated course of entry into the Earth's orbit. The message was transmitted just in time before the signal was cut off. The astronaut stepped away. He slowly breathed, relaxing himself. With renewed vigor, the spaceman moved to the front of the craft and started booting up controls for an altered course. The details sent in the message showed a narrow window that provided for re-entry into the atmosphere. Anything outside of that time frame, the spacecraft would not have the force nor fuel to push through and would instead skip right off the top of the atmosphere with deadly repercussions.
Okay, lastly, first place winner in the high school category is
The Rose Theater by Ashika Chakraborty,
She couldn't be here.
who could not be here. She felt the sharp eyes of every palace servant every time she walked the halls, like pinpricks of acid rain. Her parents might say otherwise, but Aaron was not stupid. She knew half of them were spies. She knew of the botched assassination plans. She knew that it was only a matter of time before she became a target.
Ashika let us know she couldn't be here this evening, even though she would really like to be, and sent an excerpt from her story that she asked me to read. She was no stranger to the bitterness and resentment Nuvani's regarded her with in the presence of her parents, when their attention had been diverted by something frivolous, or when their practiced disregard for the betterment of the kingdom felt like a slap in the face. She wasn't quite sure what they expected her to do about it. Perhaps nothing at all. Perhaps they only liked the idea of having someone to blame, a scapegoat for their troubles. Someone more assertive might have taken the chance and used it to their advantage, but she could not be their savior, for she was too afraid and complacent to do much more than stand with knees locked and eyes pried open, a step back and to the left of her parents, doomed to an eternity on the sidelines and fear of being noticed. Now, on the first day of the Viridian Festival, sitting alone in the balcony of the theatre, she wondered again at the unfairness of it all. Neglectful monarchs and a society on the brink of collapse. Bloodshed was inevitable. It hovered on the horizon, much like the palace held its breath when the king was in one of his moods. Aaron's hands felt clammy. The stars had begun to show through the open roof, winking down at her. She imagined what they might say if they could speak. Would they tell her of peaceful kingdoms and empires beyond the border? Would they murmur secrets of the revolution in her ear, lead her to the most hopeful future for Novenon? Or, if they were cowards, would they warn her of her father's rage and her mother's greed for confrontation hot at his heels?
so many worlds to visit. So exciting. Y'all did a fantastic job. Now there's just one more thing that I have to ask of all our young writers. After our celebrity judge gives her keynote, which is just about to happen, I am going to invite you one more time all together to come to the stage so we can get a final photo. That will be our last moment. I just want to throw it out there now. So it gives me great pleasure at this point to officially introduce our keynote speaker, Sander Moffitt. Sander graduated in May of this year. Woo! From Brown University. I know, with a degree in biology and English. Her writing experience ranges from science communication on endangered plants to fantasy novels about necromancers and bones. Sander's Wordcrafters' claim to fame is that she was a 3 consecutive year fiction fantastic winner in high school. Outside of writing, Sander enjoys drawing, exploring, and tending to a small army of houseplants. Please join me in officially welcoming Sander Moffitt to give her keynote speech, The Skeleton.
It's like I haven't haven't been talking to you for the last half hour. Thank you for that introduction. I'm Sander. I use she, her pronouns, and like Dora said, I am a Wordcrafters alum. This organization meant so much to me as I was coming up as a writer through elementary, middle, and high school, and I'm so delighted to be back and to be able to participate in this way. Books were as necessary to the formation of my body as Brussels sprouts. As a kid, I would pull up to this library with greedy fistfuls of empty grocery bags and leave with genuinely hundreds of books in tow. I'm not sure whether this was strictly allowed, but I am so grateful to the Eugene librarians for turning a blind eye as I stood on tiptoe to check out my 76th boxcar children. Stories to me have always been a source of solace. When my friends were out sick in elementary school, I would curl up on the playground bench with a copy of Fablehaven or Warriors. When I started college in the middle of a pandemic and had to be isolated for a month in my dorm, I nearly pulled a muscle, dragging stacks and stacks of my favorite books across the country with me. When I suffered a severe head injury a few years ago and had to spend weeks in a dark room recovering, Percy Jackson via audiobook was the preservation of my sanity. I started writing my own stories when I was 6 or 7. At that age, they almost always featured sheep, snails, and dragons, my 3 favorite animals. As I grew, so did my writing. What had been, in essence, character studies of the sheep, snails, and dragons sprouted conflict and developed setting and eventually matured to have themes and plots and climaxes and, if I was very lucky, resolutions. Where do stories come from? Every writer wishes that they arrived fully grown. Oh, I had a dream, we might say, and it had every character in vivid detail and a completely reasonable plot that definitely still makes sense when I'm awake, and it even came with a perfect and marketable title. The reality is usually much, much more grueling. Every author has their own way of visualizing the generation of their stories. Some of my friends see shapes, and with each scene that they add or delete, they are molding it toward the form that seems most correct to them. Other folks see themselves as shepherds, doing their best to herd their characters gently in the right direction. To my biology-trained brain, a complete story is a body. A story idea might arrive as a character in an especially strange outfit, or a scene of heartbreaking betrayal, or a stew so delicious that a character would seriously consider committing war crimes to get the recipe. This is how stories arrive to me, as lone body parts. A hand here, a liver there, a core component for sure, necessary. But most often they do not come with a set of IKEA instructions on how to assemble the rest of the story. And the bit I struggle the most with is always, always the skeleton. The skeleton is the foundation, the structure upon which one can place the breathtaking characters and the fast-paced action scenes and the meaningful themes. There exist many ways to consider this structure. Rising and falling action, the hero's journey cycle. No matter how you see it, everything is stitched onto this skeleton. And if the skeleton is the wrong shape, if the story doesn't have a basis that makes sense and a direction in which it is going, boy, does one end up with an unwieldy creature. There is one story of mine to which my entire heart belongs. It is a whirlwind of necromancers and spirits and bones and enemies to lovers and so much else that I adore. It came to me over the course of a decade, and it is my beloved mess. A flash of one villain here, a chunk of magic there. The heart of the story is found family. I have written nearly 1 million words of this story, over 20-something drafts, and it is still not right. The skeleton is a mess. Despite my strained relationship with story skeletons like this one, bones are one of my favorite things on this planet. I think they are stunning and fascinating. You may not be interested in bones at all. In fact, you may find them kind of disgusting. That's totally fine. My job here is not to be a skeletal evangelist. My job is to make you think about what things in your life, they could be people or story tropes or cats or anything, make you as excited as bones make me. I once found a dead garter snake, Thamnophis oridonias, in the gutter of my childhood home and watched it decompose over the course of a week. As its skin lost sheen and flaked away and the muscle faded, the snake's rows upon rows of thin toothpick ribs became visible. To me, this was something like religion. I settled on my biology degree in my freshman year of high school, the day we did the skulls unit in class. The teacher laid out dried skulls of 20 different species native to Oregon and had us guess which animals they belonged to. I got almost all of them wrong, and I was delighted. It turns out one can glean a great deal of information from a skull. The placement of the eye sockets tells you whether the animal is prey or predator. The flatness or sharpness of the teeth can tell you if the animal had need for ripping and tearing, or if they ate through dulled and monotonous grazing. They were so beautiful. I especially loved the black-stained tips of bird beaks, the gentle curve of a raccoon's jaw, the terrifying pointy creature hidden within a deer. I had been losing steam on main story after working on it for so long, but the moment I incorporated bones as a central element, the spark came right back. After the skulls class, I craved more and more, and took an anatomy and physiology course my senior year of high school. At the end of the semester, we were given the opportunity to go to a cadaver lab to see in real life the human parts we'd been studying. Can your daughter go see dead bodies? And also, it's not our fault if she faints. Maybe the weirdest permission slip I ever asked my parents to sign. Every cadaver was slightly different, and each body was unique. Some had blackened lungs, or huge muscles, or even a perfect shiny silver knee replacement amidst the red chaos. There are not so many colors within us when we are alive, but in death, some of us become rainbows. The way the formaldehyde had interacted with some of the bones had opalized them. One body's hand bones had turned a mesmerizing iridescent blue, as though they had been carved of translucent lazulite, and each cadaver was named after a constellation of stars. Everything I learned just made me want to learn more. In college, I took a class on the human skeleton, and by the end, I could name every bone in the human body from just fragments. My main story grew and grew. After studying bones so much, I started to sound like I actually knew what I was talking about when it came to skeletons and necromancy in my fantasy. I knew what themes I wanted and where I wanted them to glow. My story's foundation grew and grew. For me, everything comes back to bones. My degree, my stories. For you, maybe it all comes back to art, or food, or music, or dinosaurs. I sure don't have the ability to tell anyone how to make a perfect story skeleton. I have probably very similar advice to most writers. 1, read as much as you possibly can, and figure out what about your favorite stories makes them work. I am a preservationist's nightmare. The books I own are battered and dog-eared and filled with highlighter ink and scribbles and occasional smudges of chocolate. I have a copy of a childhood favorite that has half a roll of duct tape for a spine. 2, criticism, failure, and rejection are wins. Get as much feedback as you possibly can on your writing so that you have suggestions to sort through and consider. Make a beta reader group with your friends and exchange stories. Find writing forums. Explore other Wordcrafters programs. In the fall of senior year of high school, I decided that main story was perhaps ready to go out into the world. I did a bunch of research, I made a massive color-coded spreadsheet of literary agents to query, and I got after it. I queried 81 agents, got 49 rejections, 29 no responses, 1 personalized rejection, and 2 requests to view my full manuscript. Neither request ended up panning out, but they gave me hope that I was headed in the right direction. After over 50 rejections on something so close to my heart, I am much less fazed by failure. College rejections? Cool. Short stories rejected from magazines? Sure. Awards? I'll nominate myself for something, why not? What's the worst that could happen? And every once in a while, something pans out. I got into college, or I got a job that I did not think I was qualified for. The more you fail, the more comfortable you get with the idea, and then you open yourself up to a new level of opportunity. 3, keep an inspiration notebook. Mine is called Happy Piles, because it is full of little piles of words and sentences and ideas that give me energy. As you might imagine, a lot of bones, but also favorite words, scenes from stories that I love, newspaper clippings, photos of paintings, doodles by friends, or anything else that makes me happy or gives me that spark of inspiration. For me, some examples are colorful coral reefs, the word scared, crown shyness in trees, The Kiss by Gustav Klimt, snake ribs, the alkalinity of fen wetlands, inquisitive cat meows, the opening lines of Tamsin Muir's novel Gideon the Night, the first bite of a summer peach. Find these things that give you that little spark, hold them close to your chest, and then when you have the chance, fold them into your stories. Thank you guys so much for coming to Wordcrafters. Keep writing, and it makes me so happy to be able to be here with all of you.
It is just an amazing experience to get to watch someone grow, and this part from it making me feel quite a bit older than I was when we first met. It's just an absolute delight. All right, and what great life advice too. I mean, I think that is the thing about anything we're passionate about. How does it extend? Let's just fail at everything until it works out. I like it. Okay, listen, folks. I need to say thank you to one more giant, broad category of people, and that is everyone who has supported these young writers. So the families, everyone who is in the room today and also not in the room today, and a huge shout out to the teachers that are a big part of encouraging students to write and submit to this contest. Thank you all so much to everyone who supported. It is essential, such an ecosystem. Okay, so if you enjoyed participating this year, and you might want to write with us again, we are very excited to announce the theme of next year's contest is Echoes of the Future. Coming October 2024. I do believe you are all on our mailing list. You will be getting notified, but that's the big announcement. At this time, as we disband, you are going to have the opportunity to purchase as many extra copies of the anthology as you might like to share with family and friends. And let's see, what else do I need to tell you? Y'all are gonna come back up for a photo. All the young writers are coming back up for a photo. And yeah, lastly, I'll just say we deeply appreciate your donations. Once again, thank you to the sponsors of this contest, and I think that's it, right? All right, one more time. Fiction Fantastic 2024. Thank you, Eugene Public Library. Thank you to everyone who participated this year. Let's get y'all back up here for one more photo with our incredible celebrity judge.